When we come back from the break, we'll be taking a look at a very important part of our economy, agribusiness, agri-financing. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Business Daily here on Trust TV. Now, you see, one of our first stories this morning was the inflation story that has gone down at 22.97% from 23.71% in April. Just a bit of context to it now, marking the second consecutive month of decline, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. That is, in April it went down, in May it went down, and that's so 2 months now. This brings inflation nearly 11 percentage points lower than 33.95% recorded in May of 2024. A significant factor was the CBI rebasing from 2009 to 2024, which caused a sharp one-off decline from 34.8% in December 2024 to 24.48% in January of 2025. Now, food inflation, the main driver of rising living costs, also eased to 21.14% in May, down from 21.26% in April. Now, joining me to discuss this and the other issue, which is about the agri-financing, is Dr. Ajisefinni Ayodeji. He is Agribusiness and NMSE Expert. Good morning, Doctor. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily this morning. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear. Yes.
I can hear you very well.
Okay, all right. Now you've seen the stories on the Nigerian headline inflation. This is 2 months decline. What's your take on it?
Well, we thank God things are coming up gradually in Nigeria. Relying on imported food, imported gadgets are reducing. A reduction in the forest is making things to be easy gradually. When the demand on forest is reducing, and here in Nigeria we are consuming what we produce, just like the headline of today says, Nigerians to consume goods for Nigeria and export the rest, decline gradually. And it's a sign of better days ahead for Nigerians if we believe in it.
Okay. All right. So do we actually, think that the CPI rebasing is what's helping with the decline in inflation?
Well, the CPI has something to do with that in the decline in the inflation, coupled with the situation of our purchasing power has reduced and the cost of living for what it is. It makes people to reduce our excessive consumption of unnecessary or acquiring unnecessary gadgets or investing on unproductive projects.
Okay. All right. Now we'll go to our conversation for today, which is financing, access to capital for rural farmers and agro entrepreneurs. But before we go there, let's look at this report where the reps is handling alleged financial misappropriation according to funds made available for agricultural intervention. Let's take a look.
The federal government rolled out several agricultural intervention programs to boost productivity and support small-scale farmers facing climate and market challenges. Funded through both public and donor sources, these programs were intended to build resilience in the sector. But recent concerns suggest that much of the funds may not have reached their intended targets. Allegations of mismanagement and procurement irregularities have prompted lawmakers to act. At a public hearing, the chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee on Agricultural Interventions, Chiamaka Nwafor, made it clear that the investigation is not a witch hunt, but a quest to uncover systematic failures.
One of the key oversight mandates of the committee, that's the Committee on Nutrition and Food Security, is to ensure proper implementation of intervention programs by relevant MDAs and agencies of government related to food security and nutrition investigations, monitoring of resource allocation, advancement of new laws, and strengthening of existing ones, among others, on matters relating to nutrition and food security. These are comprehensively contained in the committee's jurisdiction as captured in the standing order of the House.
The committee argued that if the funds had been properly utilized, Nigeria would not be grappling with the current level of food insecurity. It also questioned the selection process of beneficiaries and demanded clarity on how the disbursed funds were tracked and monitored.
How the Central Bank of Nigeria, through the Anchor Borrowers Program, ABP, disbursed about 1.12 trillion naira to 4.67 million farmers involved in either maize, rice, or wheat farming through 563 anchors. Please, CBN note, we are aware that you have about 24 PFIs through which you disburse this humongous amount.
Representatives from several financial institutions, including Nassau Microfinance Bank and Sterling Bank, gave brief overviews of their roles in fund disbursement.
A couple of them have pointed to the fact that after they had invested the funds they received in agricultural business, they were not able to go back to the farms because of experience of banditry and herdsmen. And so that delayed either their seasonal intervention or also harvesting. And some also pointed to natural disasters.
Undisbursed funds that was returned and the disbursed funds that were returned. The total fund repatriated to central bank stood at 113 billion 490 million 756,332 naira 54 kobo.
The committee warned that institutions who fail to honor the committee's summons risk being compelled to appear through a bench warrant.
Okay, that report there gives us an insight on, what's happened. But just give an overview of what we're talking about today. Now, agriculture employs over 60% of Nigeria's workforce and contributes about a quarter of our GDP. Yet only a tiny fraction of farmers have access to credit. Now, the farmers who feed the nation, they're struggling to access the financing needed to improve their yields, expand operations, and or add value to their produce. Now, Nigeria's agricultural financing gap is estimated at over 3 trillion naira. Most smallholder farmers lack formal documentation, land titles, or financial literacy, making them risky borrowers in the eyes of lenders. But my guest today is an agribusiness expert, and he will best help us understand some of these issues. Now, back to you, Doctor. Can you tell us, really, you've listened to that package. The reps are probing these funds. One of the things that we have here is some of the things that have been done by former administrations and current administrations is the Anchor Borrowers Program, which we had in that report that was said, linking farmers with processors and providing impute financing, Nisarl, and other people that have come on board, but somehow it seems not to have worked. What is the problem?
Thank you very much. And I listened to the public hearing, and I want to appreciate the House of Rep for investigating this. It's not, as they said, to win shunts, but to correct the abnormalities. The abnormalities involve three parties. It is a good project for government to have intervention funds. The implementation is number one case that needs to be analyzed. Number two is the farmers that you want to finance. Number three, do we actually get the right economic of production before you go into disbursing? Disbursement comes at times outside the farming season. And we all know in Nigeria, we have single farming season, practically. It's either it is rainy season or dry season. And being who we are in Nigeria, If the funds do not come during the rainy season, it comes during the dry season. Instead of some of the farmers not to collect the loan, they collect and divert. That is if it is cash. Now, if it is input, a farmer that wants to cultivate 1 hectare of rice farm will need nothing less than 50 kg of paddy rice if he wants to do broadcasting, and minimum of 6 bags of inorganic fertilizer. The intervention that will be coming as input may come with 20 or 25 kg seed with 3 bags of fertilizer. What do you expect such a farmer to do? Or a situation where they will give an input to farmers, and what they will want the farmers to return is maybe 5 bags of his input. Therefore, both the funding unit and the farmers needs to be well educated. And that is where the issue of agri-finance capacity building is to come in. They said natural disaster. What is the issue, and why don't we look at insurance when we are discussing funds to farmers? The money for insurance may have been deducted as cost of capital. Do they actually pay the insurance company so that when the disaster comes, the farmers will be compensated so that the bank can get its money? That's part of what we should look into. Capacity building is lacking. How much does it cost to finance 1 hectare of rice, soya, groundnut, or maize? A farmer needs nothing less than 800,000 in Nigeria of today to cultivate 1 hectare of rice farm, plus or minus. And the funding is coming at 300,000 or 400,000. What are you telling the farmer?
Okay, so.
And the farmers that are involved, do they even have the knowledge of the economic of production? Are the association that have been using, that are supposed to be the monitor, that are supposed to do the monitoring and the evaluation, are they doing the expected? And the issue of political farmers play another role in all these challenges we are talking about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, you said something about, it takes like maybe a certain amount of money to farm a certain produce, 1 hectare of it. Now, I know that there's something, I'm not so certain of the correct word in agriculture, but I think it's about different crops, being farmed on the same farmland. Won't that in any way, maybe mitigate? Now, I don't know the funds, if the funds are available for just rice, are there other funds for other things like soybeans, maize? Can't a farmer decide to use, okay, I have 5 hectares of land, but I will now use what has been given to me that can only do for 1 hectare for rice, collect another input for maize, and farm them on that same farmland? Isn't that a possibility to help and even aid the farmer as well?
It will add more to their problems. It's like having 20 children in one room. The strongest will take the lion. And that has been the issue in Nigeria. Monocropping is not a way forward. To insecurity of food. You have 5 hectares one and you want to rent crops. Make good use of 1 hectare per product. For example, you want to maximize 1 hectare of maize farm. How many seed are you expected? How many stands of maize are you expected on 1 hectare? Plus or minus 55,000. In that situation, you now add cassava. You have reduced your profitability.
Okay.
The nutrient required by maize is not the same thing required by cassava.
Okay.
And there will be struggling of who needs the best. And this contributed to shortage of food production in Nigeria. And that is why the modern agriculture needs to come to stay in Nigeria. Commercial agriculture needs to be the modern way. 1 hectare, 1 crop. If really wants to do it. And each of these is not the same amount required for cassava. Is what cowpea needs. It's not the same amount rice needs. Each category of crop have their own cost of production, which majority of the farmers are not conversant with. All what they're after is there is government intervention. Government wants to give you loan. Oh yeah, let's go and take the loan. Some people will collect below what they need, while some will collect above what they need, because the basic knowledge, the basic agribusiness knowledge, which starts from land acquisition, land measurements, are not well done.
Okay.
I don't know if you are getting my point.
Yes, yes. Getting you clearly. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's come back to the financing aspect. And one of the people, the major financiers of things or giving out loans are banks. So why is it that it seems like the banks, maybe the money deposit banks, are finding it quite difficult to lend to farmers?
Thank you very much. This is a place to say the truth so that we can get it done better. There's what they call KYC in commercial banking. Know your customer. Yes, but I've been saying this, and I will say it openly again. There needs to be, or add additional B in front of KYC to be, know your customer business. A situation where bankers are always after their own profit. They are not interested in the survival of that farmer's business. It's always a problem. Come and take loan. My loan is 15% per annum. How do you want to pay? The risk involved in the business, do they have the practical knowledge? Thank God most of the commercial banks are putting practical farmers, somebody with practical experience on their agri desk. Before now, it's not like that. They only do the credit appraiser and see this is the expected profit. What about the risk involved? How do we mitigate against the risk? If the risk involved is not mitigated against, we all know that agribusiness is a risky business. No matter how risk, life itself is a risk. And the best way is to insure it. And when we talk about insurance, we insure the working capital. We insure the life of the owner of the farm. So that if in case eventuality on
All right, seems we're having a bit of a network challenge there.
There an insurance company that will cover whatever is paying. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We lost you for a moment, but we can hear you.
Thank you.
Okay, so
thank you.
Earlier, you've spoken about something about land, on understanding the land. Now, one of the issues, again, I believe that maybe the banks are having is with documentation, and even private lenders might be having with this farmers will be documentation. So how can this issue of lack of land titles and documentation be solved so that it can enable farmers access credit, maybe not necessarily from a money deposit bank, but from even a private lender, because most people will require some sort of collateral to be able to loan you money?
Thank you. It's not compulsory for smallholder farmer to own a land before you go into agribusiness, into farming. It's a capital intensive. I always advise people, instead of you to buy land, go and list land.
Okay.
What you need is to follow what is called government credit guarantee scheme. We have NISA PSC. The job of NISA PSC is to cover primary agriculture. Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
We can hear you.
The job of NISA PSC is to provide cover for primary production up to the level of 65 to 70%. Why the farmer themselves we have equity contribution of about 10 to 20%. Major problem is the so-called bankers lending by financial institutions are not ready to take any risk. That's why they will want farmers to provide 120% cover. Where do you expect such a farmer to get 120% cover than the insurance? NAIC is there. NISA PSC is there. Equity contribution is there. Why are they still giving this problem to farmers that you must provide land title? And I think with the revival and recapitalization of Bank of Agri, this bottleneck will not be there.
Okay. All right. Now let's come back to something else. Some of these initiatives that have been rolled out prior to now. We see the Anchor Borrowers Program, and of course the NERSL, and of course the Bank of Agriculture. How well do you think that these initiatives and these organizations have done well to actually attend to the needs or deal with the situation on ground?
Well, the initiative was meant well, but the implementation was bad.
Okay.
Starting from the quality of input supplied to farmers, followed by the timing of the disbursement of the input, and lack of the basic knowledge. This is what we call agro scheme or support to produce. What do you expect from farmers is not known to farmers. Hello?
Yes, can hear you.
The program meant well, but the implementation was totally faulty. Okay. If such a program will be coming up, it's better for government or the agency involved to review all the process, all the system, starting from the accreditation of farmers.
Okay.
Let's go back to farm settlement. If government wants to do intervention, there must be monocropping on the farm settlement basis. It will make monitoring and evaluation easy. Number two, we need to train the farmers on the modern day agriculture. Number three, the economic of production, that is the cost of production. If we fail to plan to fail. If farmers know that this is the expected amount you have to spend on 1 hectare, you have to buy X seed for X amount, insecticide X amount, fertilizer X amount, your labor cost X amount. Farmers will be conscious of spending and know what is expected to return. All these are not known to farmers. A project of rice farming that's supposed to give a minimum of 4 tons per hectare, a farmer will get 1 ton. How do you expect such a person to pay back the loan? In Nigeria, it's difficult for a farmer to say he has half a ton of soya seed from 1 hectare and he has spent over 700,000. How do you expect such a thing? Therefore, capacity building needs to come in place. And the quality of seed is another thing.
Okay.
Plus timing of disbursement. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we moved away from government-owned funding plans. Let's go to private sector and see how can they be incentivized to fund, agri SMEs and smallholder farmers.
I can't hear you. Can you please repeat the question?
How can the private sector be incentivized to fund agri SMEs and smallholder farmers? Because the job is not just a thing for the federal government. We'll need for private sector to come on board and see that this works as well. So how can the private sector get incentivized to see to it?
Thank you very much. That's why I said private-driven economy is the only way forward in Nigeria. And for private-driven economy to work in Nigeria, the local investors needs to be enticed before the foreign investors comes in. How do I mean? All the major commercial users of the farmers' finished products needs to do more of backward integration. What is backward integration? Engage associations, commodity associations, to encourage their farmers to produce for them under a termed agreement. What is the advantage? The farmers are ready-made market. The farmer know what is expected to make. And the factory that got this farmer engaged has access to funds because they have what it takes. Let's form ourselves into cooperative society and go back to cluster farming. Farm mechanization is not the only responsibility of government. We have where to do agricultural agripreneurs in Nigeria. We are encouraging them to bring up equipment finance options or equipment leasing options. In Nigeria, take a state, for example. For us to be well mechanized in a state like Kwara or North Central, a state in North Central, for example, Kwara State, we need nothing less than 5,000 tractors. A state of 16 local government that is an agri-based state, and they have less than 1,000. What do you expect of such? Government cannot invest because these are capital expenditure. We have people that can invest into it, and if government make it easy for them to access this capital investments, loaned from commercial bank, and they bring it down to the local farmers, I believe private participation in agri-financing will be made easy for our local and smallholder farmers.
All right, so now let's talk about policies. What policies, reforms are necessary to build a stronger agri-finance ecosystem?
Yes, when there is no consequence for any misconduct, things will not work well. I'm an advocate that it's good for government to make policy and put consequence of default to that policy. For example, look at what is going on at House of Representatives, the Committee on Government Intervention. Because people know that if I collect or if I supply and it's not good, nothing will happen. We will continue to do worst. But the day there is consequence for misconduct, you take loan to buy tractor or for government, for agricultural funding, you diverted that loan, you are caught, there will be a consequence. You are appointed as a supplier to supply X quantity of input with a specified quality, and you supply below, there is consequence. I believe we will work well and the policy will work. Not that we don't have the policy in Nigeria. We have a lot of fine defined policies, but who are the implementing people? And I will use this opportunity to make my own opinion known that this is high time each state government, if they have not done that, and federal government, to have an agency that is profit-oriented to handle agribusiness in Nigeria. We should not let it to be on the decks of Federal Ministry of Agri. There should be an agency with a mandate that you must make it work, and these are your consequences. It has nothing to do with political farmers because they know their mandate. By the time we have this agency in place, from the federal to state level, you will see a change in agri-finance, and it will be a thing that will change Nigeria food production to a better level.
All right, now, just a final question. Nigeria, do you think that we can realistically become an exporting country if we do not resolve our agri-finance situation?
Agri-finance is one out of many things. And I will tell you categorically, we have 774 local governments in Nigeria. This is statistics. Let's make it mandatory to each local government to clear minimum of 5,000 hectares and use comparative advantage of each local government across the 36 states plus FCT to give them minimum of 3 crops. We have enough to export. That is number one. Number two, do the government at the state level recognize Agri as source of revenue to their state? Do the local government in Nigeria discover that IGR can come from agriculture? How much is a liter of petrol? How much is a liter of palm oil? Palm oil is expensive more than petrol. If we concentrate our efforts in the production of palm oil, we will earn foreign currency. The state or the local government that comes up will be a very buoyant state. But because we never see agribusiness as a way of IGR, that is why we are in this mess. On the final note, it's an appeal to federal government, to state government, to local government, and to we the farmers to be sincere with ourselves. Any input given to farmers is not meant to be sold. Let's change that mindset of this is national. Why must government give us input or implement? Immediately we collect it, we sell it at a lesser cost to serve to meet our domestic commitments. It's a way of killing the food insecurity, adding more to food insecurity. And for the local government, land clearing is a capital expenditure. If local government in Nigeria, the chairman look at it as a way forward, let them clear the land, let them make provision for irrigation system, at least a solar pumping machine with clear land, and let it use in your local government.
Okay.
You will generate nothing less than £1 billion per annum. Wow. Depends on the hectares of land. Okay. Let the state government in each state see Agri as a major income generating for their budget.
Okay. All right.
We cannot push everything to federal government. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayodeji. It's been a pleasure having you, sharing your insights on agri-financing and business for us on Business Daily this morning. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
And that's it this morning on Business Daily. We've looked at a couple of issues. NECA's talk of buying for made in Nigeria, equally the Nigerian inflation, and most especially we looked at agri-financing or agribusiness. How do we get this money's credit to our smallholder farmers and agro entrepreneurs? I hope you've learned something and gotten insight and better know how to run your agribusiness in case you are one out there. For more of our programs, documentaries and news, don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms and our YouTube live stream. I am Chiamaka Nwafor, same time, same place tomorrow. Bye for now.